Hello and welcome to the Marketing Foundations podcast. Today I am joined by my co-host Nicholas Cormier, and we have one of our clients on here, Chris Rowan from Element Pools and Spa. Chris, thank you so much for jumping on.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Awesome. So you are a pool builder in Winnipeg, Manitoba, correct?
That's correct.
Tell the audience a little bit about how you got into building pools, and how long have you been in business. Tell me a little bit more about Element Pools.
Right. So I mean, going back years and years, I started in pool maintenance for a company, and I just had a blast. I was working with a couple buddies, and we were driving around cleaning pools. It was a really fun environment. Then I transferred to another company, and actually got pushed into pool construction because I was a bit bigger, and so that worked out really well. Kind of moved my way up in that company, became a manager, project manager, construction manager of the store. And then I was
Mm,
kind of just a baby step away from owning my own company. So then I took that jump a couple of years ago, and it's been awesome because now instead of
wow,
doing 30 pools, we're scaling back to do about 10. So our quality is up, our customer experience is up, and honestly, the work-life balance is way better for myself. So yeah, pretty stoked about that.
that's awesome. So what do you find is the biggest differentiator between you and other builders within like the Winnipeg area?
I would say it's overall like the customer experience because of my background in construction from the ground up, moving into sales over the last like 5 or 6 years. I'm able to talk about the construction side of things, the design choices. I feel like I'm keeping up with the trends.
Mm,
I'm kind of going against other sales guys that didn't really have the construction experience, so I feel like I have a competitive advantage there. So that's worked out really well for me because I'm able to explain every step of it.
mm.
So that's super important, and it's kind of like the baseline that the motto of our company that we're trying to run. So yeah,
So
That's
there, I feel
amazing.
like
And
there's a lot. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
well, I was just gonna add on to that like you know the whole process because you literally started, with maintenance and then you went and into building and knowing the whole process, like everything about it is like really important. A lot of people they only know one process, either the maintenance or they know how to do the digging or they only know one piece of the puzzle, right? But you've been through the whole process so many times.
yeah, like I've
Mm,
been across that. So like I actually it was really beneficial for me to work at another big box store, having sales guys sell projects, and then I would come in as the builder or project manager and kind of try to piece this puzzle together. Because what would happen is if you have a sales guy who doesn't have the knowledge, the complete knowledge of what goes into a pool build, what ends up happening is they sell things that don't work together. So like
mm,
for example, somebody might sell a sun ledge, an auto cover, and lounge chairs that go on that sun ledge. Well, that's great. It looks awesome in a photo when the cover's off and open. But the problem is with those chairs there, the cover doesn't close anymore. So it's kind of
mm.
one of those things where, yes, that's nice. That probably could work, but you got to tell your customer, you got to flip those chairs over or take them out of your pool before you use your automatic pool cover. So things
Mm.
like that, I'm able to explain on the fly too, where I'm like, hey, this works, that works. If you want this option, now you got to go this way. So I'm able to do that like full picture, right? So
Hmm. And you mentioned that you came from a background of construction, doing the pool maintenance, and you're just one step away from starting your own company. I feel like there's a lot of people that are in that exact same situation where maybe they're working under somebody else, they're in a management position, they're project manager. What would be your piece of advice to somebody in that situation? Like what really triggered you to say, you know what, I'm just going to go for it and start this business myself?
well, I was at a point where I was doing more than all of it. Like so on top of what I thought was my job, I was also helping others, say sales guys, people ordering. I was spending more time on all these projects, and at the end of the day, what happened in my situation was the customer experience dropped. So I wasn't able to,
Mm,
because I was kind of the face of the project. So I wasn't able to give the customer what I wanted anymore. So that was my push out. I'm like, you know what? Instead of doing 30, like during COVID, we did 30, 40 pools a year for a couple of years. It was
Yeah.
absolutely insane. Glad we did it. Juggling those kind of projects only made me a better business owner and better pool builder and project manager and all that stuff. So like definitely a benefit to pushing the envelope like that. But now
Yeah.
that I scale back with the full control that I have, ordering things on time, getting permits lined up on time, giving accurate timelines to our customers is also super important in our industry, being open and honest about that. So now that I've scaled back on the number of projects that we're doing each season, our customer experience has just shot up like crazy. And so like I wasn't able to provide that experience anymore. So that was really the big motivation for me to get out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I did. And I think all you got to do if you're thinking about it is make sure you know your numbers, make sure you have the experience. It would be really nice if you had a couple of guys that you could rely on as well to come
Yeah.
with you. That's going to help because you can't do it all by yourself. But it's a little bit of everything. You got to take the leap at some point. And honestly, when I did it, I didn't look back. I wasn't scared. Once I took that leap. I had to keep going. Going back wasn't an option. So, but you got to be ready for it. Like, probably if I was to have taken that leap 8 to 10 years prior, I don't think I would have done as well as I did the first 2 years in business. So I was
Mm.
at a point in my life where I was really ready for it and focused and driven like never before. So you got to be ready for it as well.
Yeah.
What
So
were
don't,
the
or go ahead.
like yeah, you definitely have to be ready for it, but like what were some things that shocked you when you first took the leap? Because there's definitely things that you don't know until you actually do it, you know? There's not a textbook that gives you play by play.
Yeah. So what I would say is that I think I still put in the same amount of hours as I did before when we were cranking out 2 or 3 times the amount of projects. But now I'm the back end guy, right? So I'm still putting in those hours, but it's kind of spread out throughout the winter months. When it's slower, I can do drawings, 3D designs. So to answer your question, I think that the amount of little things that go into running a business that take hours, I don't think people really realize how much goes, especially when you're learning, like right out of the gate, you're figuring out, you're trying to navigate through the CRA website, record of employment web, ROE web, all these different things. And you end up having all these accounts with all these passwords and you got to stay organized. And so, yeah, I would just say I underestimated how much nothing was really difficult, but it was a lot of little things that took up a lot of time. And
Hmm.
once in a while, there was a roadblock in the accounting software where maybe we got to, watch YouTube videos, talk to this accountant, talk to this bookkeeper, two people that give you different answers. There's definitely some gray areas in bookkeeping as well. But a lot of research. And I mean, I have no problem doing that. I've always done that. Even back when I was learning how to build pools and there was new products coming out, I would spend the winter, I would look products up. I would read manuals. I would do whatever I had to become more knowledgeable. And that's really important as well. No matter what you're doing, if you're just building, if you're selling, I think you should try to research the products that you're selling as well. That really helped me become a better sales guy too. So I think no matter what you do, you got to do your research and due diligence and just try to get better every single day.
That's really good advice. So, when you first started, how did you get your first jobs when you didn't really have a whole lot of credibility in the space yet? Was that
I
strictly
got
through networking? Like, give,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I got so lucky there. Like some people, whatever. Like I think I was fortunate to have built a pretty good name in Manitoba and Winnipeg. So I had jobs like right out of the gate, references from neighbors when I was working for other companies. People got to know me. I was always keeping in touch with people, even 5, 10, 7, 10 years. Sorry, I said 10, think I said 10 twice, but yeah, numerous years after my projects, I always kept in touch with customers, text them, hey, how's everything going? They would reach out to me if they ever had a question and they couldn't get a hold of a service department or another
Hmm.
store. So I always had that really good rapport with customers, even when I was just an employee. So I was fortunate to get referrals from some of those jobs, and so that really helped. It did take me a little bit of convincing because I mean it's a big project. I had to get all
Hmm.
my insurance lined up. People wanted proof. I was, they knew me as a builder, but they didn't know Element as a company. So it's sort
Yeah.
of hard to trust when you're spending $100,000 plus on a pool project with this brand new company. You don't want anything to go wrong. Like obviously, I did everything in my power to build. I always did to build the best product possible. We're in a harsh environment in Manitoba, so there's things that can happen, right? So I get
Yeah.
it. But at the end of the day, I was really lucky to have jobs right out of the gate. Going into year two, I was booked about halfway. Like at this point last winter, I was booked about halfway into this past summer. So I was pretty lucky there where I was able to, sit back and do all my planning over last winter. But that's kind of how I got the jobs. And then like obviously with jump marketing coming on, helping skyrocket the website, get all the SEOs dialed in, all the marketing stuff that Nick and Seth have taught me a lot about, and honestly helped me a lot with. That part's been huge too. Like that's if I tried to tackle that on my own, I would need to hire somebody else for that in-house. So, and even then, it wouldn't be as good as what Jump's doing. So, yeah, shout out to Jump.
Thanks,
Well,
Chris.
thank
Yeah.
you. That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, you'd recommend that, becoming an expert within in the space is huge. That's you mentioned that you're studying like manuals so that you could understand exactly how these products worked that you were selling. That's huge. And then when you were getting going, that it's really important to keep a strong follow-up game with everybody in your power base, like sending people periodic texts, keeping yourself top of mind. That's huge, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, and being responsive too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people, to a fault of my own, like I'm almost too responsive. So they know on a Sunday, I don't tell people this very often, but if somebody texts me that their pump stopped working and I know it's a quick, easy text back, my wife gives me crap for it, but I'm gonna respond. Like I
Hmm.
can't not, because I feel bad. And it's like, hey, everybody's got a party planned. There's always kind of a mini emergency. And if I can
Yeah.
fix that problem by like a 1 second text, I'm gonna do it.
Mhm.
The other cool thing that we're doing to eliminate that whole part where people are reaching out to me. So what we're working on now is like a customer portal, whether it be on, it's kind of like on an app. So I'm hoping that some of my guys that are coming up, foremen, project managers, we're all on this portal with our customers on each project. So they're
Hmm.
going to reach out to us via this app rather than via Chris's cell phone on a Sunday. So that part for me is going to be huge as we expand too, because obviously I need the work-life balance. Um,
That's
but
important.
yeah,
You got to
yeah,
keep the happy wife, happy life, right?
that's right. You guys are going to learn that real quick.
Yeah, that's the truth. I love that. Okay. So now for somebody that's just getting into construction, like you say you could talk to, young Chris 10 years ago, what would be your piece of advice to somebody just getting into pool building or some piece of advice that you would have gave yourself, 10 years in the past?
Well, I think it's interesting right now, and so I feel like maybe I'm biased about it, but I kind of, people always say like, hey, the younger generation, they don't work like we used to, blah blah blah. I feel like I was in this little transition period where part of my generation was kind of like that, but then I also was trained by some of these old school guys, so I saw a bit of both as far as the way employees are trained and what employees are kind of expecting overnight almost these days. And
Yeah.
to be honest, I was sort of in that position where it's all about me. I don't want to put in the time, you know. Um, so to answer your question, Seth, what I would say is that guys coming up in any sort of a trade, specifically is what I'm talking about. You got to put in the time, and you got to prove yourself consistently. And so what's happening? I feel like nowadays people will come up, do one good thing. Hey, I want to raise. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you got to do this consistently. Take jobs off your boss's plate. Show him that you're self-sufficient. that you do good quality work. You can talk to customers. There's a lot of guys who can do good work, can't talk to, you don't want to put them around a customer because everything coming
Really?
out of their mouth is not something you want on your job site. So
Mm.
if you can be personable with customers, you can also get down and dirty and show the guys that you're not scared to jump in a trench and dig a trench or do the jobs that are crappy. Um, I always say I'm never above a broom. You know, when the guys are cleaning up our job site, I'm gone to the front street. They think I'm gone. I'll sweep the road. I don't care. I don't want them to leave it not swept or, it's kind of like, hey guys, this is how I expect it to be left. I'm going to show you. And
Hmm.
if I have to show you again, I'll do that. But
Yeah.
this is the standard that we have. Like, I don't want to
Got
get
to
a
lead by
call.
example. Yeah.
Yeah. Lead by
Mhm.
example. Like, day's over. It was a long, hot day. We're working plus 35 degrees. I don't want to get a call from a neighbor saying that we didn't clean up the road good enough, right? So
Yeah.
like that's just one little example. But what I would like, sorry, to circle back there, I think that people need to consistently buy in and prove themselves. Of course, it's going to also be on the employer or the manager to sort of set goals. Like I always like to set goals for my guys. Kate, you did great this year. Here's your kind of, maybe you're worth $1 raise, $2 raise. Here's the plan for your next bump. So as soon as that raise comes, I'm like, you need to get better on these things, and not in like a derogatory way or degrading way. It's a way of like constructive criticism. Like, hey, these are things you need to work on. Last week you had two guys under you, nothing got done. You did your job, but you didn't watch these other guys. So your management of other employees needs to improve. So those are like maybe a couple of things for your next dollar raise. And guys get pumped about that. They're like, oh, I can actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's on the employer and manager, but it's also on the employee. And if the employee wants a dollar raise every time he deserves something in his mind, gets his little gold star, I feel like you're gonna max out. The other thing I'll say is, especially in the pool industry, if you can find a niche market to be in and do really, really good at it, work hard, but buy in for the long term, not the short term. Like if you want to get a $5 raise now, I don't know, just like buy in. Like I was also at a point where I'm like, is this ever going to go anywhere? And then at one point in my late 20s, things took off, everything, all the stars aligned. COVID was coming around too, so that definitely helped everybody prove themselves and see what we could really do. Um, but you just got to be ready for that opportunity. So, like at one point in time, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, dead end job, and then next thing I know, it skyrocketed. So take that for what it is. But I think buying in for the long term and proving yourself is the most important part.
So when you say
Mm.
buying in, what do you mean by that?
Well, so basically, like if you see a company that has potential and so you also like, again, this also is going to be on the company as well to sort of communicate these opportunities. So for my guys, like I can expand in 5 different departments if I want, but I have to have the right guys coming up and under me. And so when I have these guys who are showing me their skill set and their attitude, I'm like, hey, these are all things you can do. Here's a challenge. Show me what you can do. I want to see if you can take on 2 guys. Maybe next time take on 3 guys. Take on this phase of the build for me, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, those are all things that are going to be, on the employee or on the employer, sorry, to communicate to the employee as far as, hey, buy in. These are the opportunities here, but you're going to have to prove yourself. And so yeah. Does that make
Kind of
sense?
like, yeah, kind of like painting a picture for the future for them. And then like, when you can explain what the future looks like and what the goals and the targets are of the company, it's like, if they're aligned with that, then yeah, 100%, then they can buy in because they're like, hey, I can see the vision for what Chris is trying to build here. And if they
Yeah.
can buy into the vision, then yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I did have one question about the pool building process. And the reason why is because a lot of people, don't know anything about construction, but they do need, people, they need you to build a pool. They have no idea where to start, right? Most people are that way. And so, what's the number one misconception people have when they're going to build a pool? Like,
Number one misconception. Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, budget's always something that has to come up, right? Like everybody wants all the bells and whistles, and a lot of times that's not possible. It's not feasible. So that would be one thing. Obviously, there's certain building codes that also could apply. So somebody's like, I want my whole backyard a pool. Well, you can't do that. You have to be 5 feet in from the property line on this side, this side, this side. So there's certain building codes that we have to abide by too. So, but a misconception, I would say budget potentially. A lot of people do their research, so they kind of know, hey, I'm in this kind of price range. I'm gonna reach out because maybe I can, maybe I can cut a couple things, or I'm five or $10,000 off, that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I'd say probably that misconception. It might be that also, people build things differently. So because of the way we build, it actually adds a couple days to our projects. Quite often, we're doing automatic pool covers. We're adding like brick lids for the auto covers. So we're adding custom high-end options that take, like, all those things might take an extra day, half day, but all that stuff adds up to being a longer project. And then a lot of times I do hear, hey, this other company who came in, they had water in 5 days. Well, that's great. That's what I'm not doing anymore. I did it, but then you're spread so thin. You got five. Like, I know as soon as they're telling me that another company got the water in 5 days. Okay, they have 10 open jobs right now, and they have 10 customers to answer daily if they're communicating properly. They have 10 permits to line up all for the same time. So they're taking on what I don't want to take on anymore. So that's sort of the misconception I might hear on timeline if people are
hmm,
doing things.
it's better also to have it done right and have it done like
Yeah.
maybe it's a little bit longer timeline, but you nail it and you know that that's the timeline where, you know, um, a lot of people in the trades will say the timeline, but the timeline is incorrect and way incorrect. And then it's, yeah, an open project that's delayed and then customers aren't too happy. So, for
Yeah.
you to be able to say, hey, this is the timeline, it's,
And the other thing right now is, like, I'm still in pretty good shape. I'm in the field all the time. Right now, my sales pitch is you get the owner on site. I'm there for every build. If I was getting water in every pool in 5 days, that means that the owner he's long gone. He's back in the office. Quality control might go down. I've seen that happen before. And again, that's another reason why I scaled back. So right now, my whole pitch is that, yeah, we have a great team and a great bunch of guys and really skilled guys too, like beyond myself. But I'm also on site for quality control right now. Eventually, the company is going to scale to the point where I'm going to have to be gone. But over the next 5, 7 years, I'm there every part of it. I'm overseeing all of it. I'm there to talk to the customer that I've already been talking to all winter long about their project, so I know every little detail, every little. A lot of times, when you're talking to a customer and you've quoted them, you've gone back and forth on some. You really know them, and if you're listening to them, of course. But um, so there's a lot of things where you can't really put that onto a contract. Like, so I build a contract booklet that'll have like our detailed site plan. It'll have the permit drawing, click before you digs, all the build specs. It'll have everything in there. But there's certain things that you can't always put on paper for a foreman to grab and, hey, go build this. There's still some things that where, again, right now, that's why our quality is so high, because nothing's missed.
mm,
When you're doing your project management, how do you keep everything so tight when you're handling, 10 plus projects a year? Like, what's that process look like?
Like, as far as like order, like, okay, so basically the way the process is that I'll go to somebody's yard and I'll take a
Yeah.
look at the surrounding areas and any building codes we
So
have to abide by.
So
So
first, then, okay, so just to take it from A to Z, how this would work is first we generate the lead sort of thing. You phone the
oh,
lead, you book a quote, and then you go and quote the project. Are you using any sort of software, or how are you keeping everything organized right now?
well, so again, I'm working on that app to keep everything in sort of a customer portal so that they
Okay.
have like so basically I can send them documents for permitting, let's say. Hey, date, initial, sign, send back to me, or they fill out all their documents, send back to me. So I get all those details sent to me electronically. Previously, it was me going printing out papers. They would sign it all, then I would scan and send submit the documents that way. But now I've
Yeah.
moved to electronically for just ease, peace of mind. People don't have to meet up. It's kind of nice. So that started my process on that end.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it all within this app and the customer portal, like I was saying. But again, that's still in the works right now. But previously, I mean, it was just kind of email PDFs, get them back, upload them, save them all into customer files. That's pretty old school, but that's the way I've been doing it. So,
Mhm.
Okay. And then what are your goals to like scaling, 2 years from now, end of next year sort of thing?
well, again, we do more than just pool construction. So, we do commercial service work, renovation work. So, I mean, part of my plan, like, again, the whole customer experience residentially for construction, I don't know if I'm going to scale that too much more than my goal for this year and next year. So that's in the 10 to 15 pool range. But what I want to do is build up my other departments. So like service
Mm.
department there's room for growth there, especially because that offers year-round work because we do the city of Winnipeg YMCA's Brandon Sportsplex, those Brandon YMCA. So we take care of those properties, and obviously those pools are open year-round. So the potential for commercial work is there. So like looking to expand that way. Um, and other areas of the pool industry. I mean, we're not a retail store right now, but that's an opportunity that I would like to explore down the road too as we
Yeah,
expand.
you should create your own product line for a lot of these chemicals being used in your service work.
Exactly. So that's
Yeah.
that's another piece of the puzzle that I haven't even had time to get to yet.
Hmm.
Whether it be through e-commerce, something along those lines. I'm sure Jump Marketing can help me with some of that stuff as well. But
Absolutely, we could.
yeah,
Think about it this way,
Okay.
all the people who you do maintenance for, you could just use your own chemical,
Element,
element
Element,
chemical. I think that would
It's
be
not
a
a bad
hit.
idea.
yeah.
When I get my pool out here in Kelowna, I'll use your chemicals.
You will? Perfect. Who's building it?
Absolutely, I'll be your first customer.
Perfect.
Element is building it. It'll be the first BC project.
Well, that's
There we
okay.
go.
It'll extend our build season a little bit. So yeah, once
Oh,
I
true.
I shut things down here, then I'll go to BC and
There's more
hopefully not
money
tick
out
off
here, I
any of
tell
the
you that.
builders out there. But
Yeah, everybody has pools out here. It seems like where I live here, there's a pool in the backyard, a big one that needs servicing. So
nice, nice.
got
I
to
think
get you into the BC
Kelowna,
market.
Manitoba and Kelowna are or sorry, Manitoba and BC are completely, they're not different provinces, but they are different provinces,
Actually,
but like,
they're specifically different provinces.
yeah, they're specifically
They're
different. But what I
definitely
mean is
different.
like if you go to BC as an example, rent and like just like the way those provinces operate, I feel like are different dynamics, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely different. You know, topography too. Like that's mostly bedrock there, or gumbo and clay soil, right? So
Yeah.
the things are built differently there. Obviously, we go to -50, but in the summertime they're both scorching hot. That's why Kelowna is a hot spot. Manitoba's a hot
True.
spot. We both get that heat with those heat waves, and
Hmm.
people want to stay cool in their pools. So yeah.
True that. Okay, so Chris, is there any last piece of advice that you'd love to really just give our listeners?
I would say Also, you got to trust your marketing guy. I'll tell you a story. So when I started up Element, I was getting spam calls, and I mean, I got this one call from this guy named Nicholas one day, and I'm like, he's just another marketing guy, right? But he was the only guy who actually wanted to meet me in person without getting a deposit up front. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this guy a chance. Sounds young, sounds hungry, and he's blown me out of the water as far as what I thought he was going to be providing for service. Like it's now morphed into this whole. He's teaching me so much to the point where sometimes I have to cut him off. Like Nick, that's a talk for another day. But I would say trust your marketing guy because I've trusted Jump, and the leads that have came in through that have been amazing. Yeah, I can't thank them enough. But yeah, you got to trust the process, and sometimes like at first I was a little hesitant and I'm like, okay, I haven't really seen any bites. But then it started to scale up and started to pick up to the point where, okay, now I actually see what Nick was talking about because he kept telling me, be patient, be patient, be patient. And now that I've been patient, I'm seeing these results. And so, yeah, so that would be my advice.
I love it. Perfect. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you jumping on here. Nick, is there anything that you'd like to end off with?
Ending it off with, I really appreciate you, Chris. And if we take it right back to the start, like, I appreciate, for you trusting me as well, Chris, because when I called you, how long ago was that now? A year and a half ago, or,
Well, it was about that. Yep.
about that? And, when I called you, I actually went into because you were listed somewhere. How did I find you, I wonder?
So that I was on Google, I think you were scouring companies on Google who didn't
Oh,
have
and
BB.
so whoever didn't have a website you were calling. So I was one of those guys. So right out of the gate, I had started looking at doing coding and I'm like, man, this is really not the best use of my time. I got to get sales. And so Nick kind of came in at the perfect time where there was a lot of back and forth on building the website. And so that was kind of step one. And then we got into Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. When I did my own ads on Facebook, I ended up getting hacked. So it was just a nightmare. So
did you
jumped.
actually get hacked?
Oh yeah, yeah, big time.
Like your
And
Facebook?
yeah, so yeah, I definitely had to get some reimbursements on my credit card put back there. But yeah, so then Nick's actually shown me, and so has Seth, all the privacy that or sorry, the security settings that they have within all of these things too. So I feel really, and actually I just found out about that the other day. So that's really comfortable for me to know as well that the website can't get hacked. All these ad accounts can't get hacked. Nick's helped me with the millions of passwords and account usernames that we have. He's got that locked in for me, so I got nothing to worry about there. So yeah, there's just so many layers to it. But yeah, that's where you found me was off of Google and not having a website. So that's kind of where we started. And I can't believe how, and I was very picky on the website. I was going for a certain look, and sometimes I felt bad reaching out to Nick, but he always reassured me. He's like, we got to get this perfect. I don't care how many times it's gonna take. So like, yeah, I gotta thank the guys for that too.
Well, I really appreciate you, Chris. Yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you. I shouldn't really say that, but you're one of my most favorite customers. And
Should
you
that
know,
get something?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll keep that on there because yeah, I really, Chris, like just from my perspective, like you have one of the most optimistic, like hungry, like you also have that personality where it has to be perfect as well, and that really has been showcased over the last year and a half. Like me working with you is that there's certain companies that all they care about is the money and they care about and also they don't care about the final project as much as they care about the money. But one thing that's been really clear for me working with you is that the number one thing for you is making sure that they have 100% the best final product, and you're willing to do everything that it takes to make sure that happens. And for me, that's been like really like it's easy to market a great product as well. So that is also 100%. You know what I mean? It's easy to market a great pool. It's very hard to market a bad pool, you know? And so by you building the best pools, it's literally been made it easier for us to market because of that on your side. So
Right. Yeah, yeah, that's always really important for us too. Like of course customer referrals are going to be super important for our business, but to scale up, we're also going to need natural leads coming in. And so, yeah, so what we always try to do is build the best product possible. Like that's all we want to showcase our pools. We want to talk about the construction part of it. We'll show the construction part of it. Like we're proud of every step that goes into our project. So we have nothing to hide. And the only thing I'd be concerned about is other companies taking the ideas and you know, using them on their own projects. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people do things different ways, and that's fine as long as you can explain it and you can justify it. That's great. But that's something we build things a certain way, and I can explain why at every step of it. So
Love that. Well, thank you so much for jumping on, Chris. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, learn more about Element Pools, maybe build a pool with you, where's the best place for them to get a hold of you?
well, I would suggest checking us out on Instagram. That's probably our most active account. You could also check, so that's just Element Pools Limited on Instagram, or they could go to elementpools.ca and check out our whole section. Our process is on there. The About Us section is on there as well, big gallery. Or they could reach out to info@elementpools.ca and send us an email, and that would be the direct response, and I get those. So if they are looking for a pool renovation or a new pool build, yeah, shoot me some pictures, design ideas, inspiration ideas. I always like to start with that. So I go in knowing, hey, this person wants a rectangle, you want a freeform pool, you'd like an auto cover. So I already have a baseline knowledge of what people are looking for, and then I can kind of pull up an aerial view of their property and be like, this is doable, this is not. So I can kind of go into my initial on-site consultation already knowing what can and can't be done. If that makes sense.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that sounds great.
that's where they could find us. And yeah, so we are booking into 2025 now. We're about almost halfway booked throughout the season. So if people are looking to get a pool in next summer, then I suggest they reach out to us and start planning.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate your time today. And yeah, if you like this podcast and you want to hear, similar stories and get great advice from other people within the construction industry, make sure that you like this podcast, save it, and subscribe. And you can check us out on Instagram at Jump Marketing or Home Builder Marketers. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.